Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Now, we start with the minority in Parliament because they have warned that Ghana may suffer severe diplomatic problem with other countries if we continue to accept deportees from the United States of America. Our decision to accept 14 Nigerian and Gambian citizens have led to severe backlash, with 11 of these dragging the state to the court over human rights violation. The minority have been speaking on this subject as they condemn the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Ablakwa for sidestepping Parliament in signing the deportation MOU and breaching the country's non-alliance agreement when he condemned Israel for the attack on Palestine. James Aveji has more in this report.
Ghana's decision to receive some 14 West African national deportees from the United States of America have generated public debate in the last few days. The justification from the Foreign Affairs Minister Kokode-Nwamase Ablakwa has been that government acted on the advice of the Attorney General, as they believe an agreement between the two countries does not need parliamentary ratification before they execute.
Our decision is grounded purely on humanitarian principle and Pan-African solidarity, to offer temporary refuge where needed, to prevent further human suffering, and to maintain our credibility as a responsible regional actor. Ghana's decision must be understood as an act of Pan-African empathy. It is not transactional. Like Rwanda, Eswatini, Uganda, South Sudan, who are welcoming fellow Africans, we are standing up for our brothers and sisters in distress. And this should not be misconstrued as an endorsement of the immigration policies of the Trump administration.
By speaking to the media in Parliament, the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Jinapor, said the move by government does not only violate the 1992 Constitution, but also a Supreme Court ruling that demands that all agreements between Ghana and other countries must be ratified by Parliament.
We are also shocked by the Honourable Minister's claim that the Honourable Attorney General advised Cabinet that this agreement does not require parliamentary approval. The Attorney General of the Republic was the Deputy Attorney General when the decision in the Balfour case was delivered by the Supreme Court. He cannot therefore feign ignorance about this case and purport to give a legal opinion which therefore contradicts the decision of the Supreme Court, if indeed he did. The opinion of the United States Attorney General, if it was indeed given, is of no consequence in our country, as both the constitutional provision and the Supreme Court decision are very clear. Indeed, the Supreme Court held in the Balfour case that the distinction in the United States between executive agreements, which does not require the approval of Congress, and treaties, which require such approval, are not applicable in Ghana in the light of the clear constitutional provision in Article 75. The government's conduct in operationalizing the agreement with the United States without parliamentary ratification is a direct constitutional violation of Article 75 and an affront to the authority of the Supreme Court. It is therefore deeply concerning that the government continues to operationalize the agreement with the United States despite these flagrant constitutional breaches. Such conduct reflects a lack of respect for the rule of law, which is one of the fundamental pillars of our constitutional democracy. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, beyond this blatant constitutional breach, the agreement raises pressing concerns of sovereignty, security, and policy. While regional integration remains a core value of our foreign policy, it cannot be stretched to justify the forced deportation of foreign nationals deported from other countries. The ECOWAS Protocol on Free Movement concerns voluntary travel, not forced deportations orchestrated by a non-ECOWAS state. On the international stage, the foreign policy consequences of this agreement are equally alarming. Ghana has, over the years, built a proud reputation for principled diplomacy rooted in non-alignment, regional solidarity, and respect for human rights. The decision to serve as a receiving point for West African deportees against their wishes with emphasis from the United States risks our country being perceived as aligning itself with the United States government's current immigration enforcement regime, one which has been criticized as harsh and discriminatory. To associate Ghana with such policies could have several negative implications for our country, particularly within the African continent.
The minority is demanding that all such agreements be halted immediately until they are brought to Parliament for ratification.
We therefore reiterate our call on the government to suspend with immediate effect the unconstitutional implementation of this agreement until Parliament has duly exercised its constitutional mandate to scrutinize same and ratify it or otherwise. We further urge government to provide full clarity on the processes, safeguards, and other broader implications associated with receiving these deportees, including the measures, if any, that have been taken to protect Ghana's security interests, Ghana's foreign policy, and the Gaza conflict.
Another major issue has been government statement condemning Israel's attack on Palestine and Gaza. The minority said this is against international agreements that forbid countries from taking position in matters like this. They are warning that this could bring serious international implications on Ghana.
By describing the events in Gaza in absolute terms and aligning the country explicitly with one side in a highly polarized conflict, the government risks compromising the delicate balance that has long safeguarded Ghana's credibility as an impartial actor on the international stage. Our tradition has been to call for peace, dialogue, and adherence to international law without issuing declarations that may prejudice our ability to play a mediating or bridge-building role. Successive governments have, over decades, interpreted and applied these principles by maintaining a posture of independence and impartiality in international conflicts. It is therefore crucial, ladies and gentlemen of the press, that in responding to this conflict, Ghana's official statements continue along this tradition, speaking clearly to the need for peace, the protection of civilians, and adherence to international law, by doing so in a manner that avoids the perception of taking sides in a very deeply divisive conflict. The Minority Caucus wishes to emphasize that Ghana's enduring strength in international relations has always come from its ability to maintain independence, neutrality, and credibility, even when global powers have sought to draw us into their competing blocs. Departures from this tradition, if not checked, could diminish our moral authority on the international stage and compromise our wider national interests. We therefore call on the government to exercise caution and be consistent in articulating Ghana's foreign policy positions, particularly on sensitive international conflicts, such as the Gaza conflict. The government must ensure that Ghana's position reflects our long-standing commitment to non-alignment, multilateralism, and principled diplomacy, rather than hasty or unilateral declarations. Calm, measured, and nuanced diplomacy is essential for the conduct of our foreign policy in general and for addressing volatile situations such as the current conflict in particular.
It is now left to government to take a decision as to whether or not they will bring this agreement with the U.S. to Parliament for some ratification and a response to the position of the minority on the implication of our position in the Israel-Palestinian war. From Parliament here in Accra, I am James Savage for JoyNews.
Well, let's explore this further here on The Pulse. Joining me on Zoom is the Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Committee on Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Asafo J. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. Also joining me is International Relations Expert, Dr. Ishmael Lovo. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. I'll start with you, Asafo J, just to get a background as the concerns that the minority is raising. We've been hearing from the Foreign Affairs Minister, Ablakwa, signal that this is not an agreement, not a bilateral agreement, but an MOU. You still feel that argument is flawed?
So let me first and foremost thank you and thank your cherished viewers and listeners. So Why are we concerned? We are concerned because we must protect sovereignty of this country. And also, we must ensure that there is a precedent that will not allow any other government, now or in future, to come under the guise of whether it is a memorandum, whether it is a love letter, or whether it is a correspondence, to put international obligations on our country that will have future consequences or binding on the citizens of Ghana. The point is clear, and like we said, there are precedents that this government can look out to. And we made reference to those precedents in our press statements, which is clear. The court was clear. The court was clear, and the court said that it doesn't matter the form, it doesn't matter the shape or how it is couched. Agreement, the corresponding between the two countries, Ghana and another country or another countries, would put some obligation in the good people of Ghana, then Article 75 comes into play. This is all. So the court was clear. So this matter of whether it's a memorandum, whether it is an MOU, whether it's a note verbal and not, even the court was clear to say that even a note verbal, the court was clear. So our point and position here is that we do not even have an understanding of what is it that the minister is calling an MOU. We do not even know what is the content of the MOU. The content of the MOU places an obligation on us or not. We don't even have the details of whatever agreement there is between Ghana and the United States. And that is why we are worried. You are the fourth state of the realm government. Yet you don't even know. All you know is that there is a certain agreement between the U.S. to accept deportees that are failing to go to their country.
So you want the details to be made public? Is that the case?
No, I am telling you that the framers of the Constitution, and in their understanding and wisdom, recommended some of these things to go to Parliament because Parliament is the representation of the people. So when you present it to Parliament, it is like you are presented to the whole nation. Everything there, Parliament is the representation of the people. So the point is that when this document comes to Parliament, now the good people of Ghana will not appreciate the content. We will tell you, Parliament will even say that, okay, looking at this agreement, we don't think it has any obligation on the good people of Ghana. So therefore, let's take this route or let's take this route. That is why we are saying that, first and foremost, we do not even believe that the Attorney General, who was the then deputy during these cases, would give such advice. Because he made an argument, and the argument was flawed, or the argument was toppled by the fact that it doesn't matter whether it is an MOU, whether it is a note verbal, or whatsoever it is.
So your point is clear, really. It should come to Parliament. But what happens should this administration fail to bring it to Parliament for ratification? As we know, 40 more on their way to Ghana.
You see, that is where the danger lies. We of the minority even believe that this government should be the last government to have us go through this banter or this conversation. Because it was during their time that the first case was set. That is a difficult issue. It was during that time that this precedent was set. So taking a lesson from that, they should not come to government again and repeat the same thing that during their time happened and they went to court and lost the case. Number two, this government is overwhelming majority. So should it even come to Parliament? So minority is not pushing that we frustrate government or we disturb government. No, we just want the right thing to be done. When this thing comes to Parliament, they have the numbers to pull through. So they do not need even the minority to do this. But the point and why minority is on this one is that there must be a precedent so that future governments will not have hide under any nomenclature or
Okay.
any terms and pouch to put Ghana into an international obligation. We will not go to parliament.
Will you go to court?
Well, the minority will take that decision. But as we speak now, I'm aware, I've heard a few people made attempts to instruct their lawyers to go to court on this matter. Minority will take a decision. We've taken the first step. We are waiting for the response from government and the minister, and then we will know the next action to take.
Thank you so much for your time here on The Pulse. Now, let me finalize with Ishmael Hovo. I would have to take you now to a live news conference happening. Africa is stepping up into a defining moment in its digital journey, and I'll tell you all about it. But let me wrap up briefly with Ishmael Hovo, since you already joined the conversation. Would this have any implications for Ghana's global outlook should we decide not to receive these individuals any longer?
I don't think it has any implication for your global outlook. Rather, if we continue receiving them without parliamentary approval, without open scrutiny by parliament, that is worrying, because given the history of this nature of transactions, it's just appropriate that they present it before parliament. And given a country that's running a participatory democracy, it's just fair for the representatives of Ghana to know what is in this agreement, so that at the end of the day, with the numbers the government has got in parliament, this should not be a challenge at all.
And then moving forward, really, we're hearing from the minority that this is not the way to go, especially when we have implications to the country and we're sidestepping parliament. How do you propose this administration tackle this moving forward?
Yeah, so you see, if the MOU had not imposed an obligation on Ghana, in the sense that you are going to receive people who are being deported, if the MOU had not imposed a financial obligation on Ghana, then you could say that it's no big deal. But in this state, in this current state, it imposes a financial obligation, imposes some obligations on Ghana. So the right thing for the government to do is to present the agreement before Parliament, so that there's a proper ratification of discussion and ratification of the agreement. Then that gives it a more legal ground to stand on. Because the way we are acting, I'm afraid that it may even unsettle our other West African brothers. Because under what condition is Nigeria refusing to receive its own citizens? What is their argument? That the people who their own citizens are not ready to accept them, but we are accepting them. Perhaps what we should be doing is to act together with other West African countries to have a common approach. So if somebody is not accepting, somebody is accepting, it presents a divided African front. What Africa needs is a united front, to be able to withstand the might of the USA. So the way we are acting may well be undermining the unity of Africa in terms of how to respond to Trump and its immigration policies.
Thank you so much, Doc, for your time here on The Pulse. Unfortunately, we have to leave it here. I'm taking now live to that redefining moment I told you about, because currently, as we speak, innovators and policymakers, they've converged at the first Pan-African AI Summit. Let's take you there live.
They are using a Gemini platform, and they have limited access to data. And after they are done running their inferences, it casts there. They don't get access to the data they came to run their inferences on. That's how it ends. So that's how we save our data, and we try to keep everything private to us.
All right, Eugene here. You did say that your device has 90% accuracy. For things that are in the medical field, you're looking at a 99% confidence level. So that I'm sure you probably have to look at how do you move that from 90 to 99, at least, you know. But I'd want to ask, how are you getting your devices certified? How are you going to work with organizations like FDA, Ghana Standards Authority, getting an ISO certification? These are things that you can use to, these are agencies that would help you try to standardize your solution, so that at least we know that the results that we are getting are accurate. How are you going to do that?
So first of all, we are working on a study where we are trying to publish a journal on our device, and also we are trying to seek ethical clearance, as you said, in our attraction. So right now, where we are at a stage where we come up with the prototype, we had some feedback with some people, and also we are publishing a study on it so that it's accepted to use in hospitals.
Yeah, so what she was saying, so to even get a device approved in Ghana, you actually have to have research on it, especially in healthcare, and also you have to have a number of testing which actually shows that what you are saying matches your device capabilities. And that's the process we are going through to be able to get that pinned down.
All right. Very insightful presentation. Now, imagine a scenario where a market woman has just been frying over charcoal. Her breath is full of smoke and spice. What I'm trying to probe here is, what are your wait times for such a person? Yeah. What are your red test rules? And if possible, your false positive mitigations. Do you have any? In terms of, I was looking at your team, your list of team members, and I didn't see any AI expert or AI person in there. And you are feeding your data through an AI model. So how are you ensuring that the decision the AI model is giving out is correct or not? Do you have a human in the loop who verifies the information that comes out? Right. Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you very much for the question. So to make sure that results given are actually correct, so we do have a rack system. That's a rack system which actually validates the results which comes out. And if it's wrong, you then get to pair and see that, oh, this result you've gotten matches up with other 5 patients who use our platform. And we don't even end it there. We still give you access to doctors online to go on with the process to have it finally validated that you do have this disease and you need to start these processes. Yes, please.
And also, you said something about not having AI people on the team. We do have AI researchers on the team that are helping us currently.
I'm one of them, and we couldn't put everyone there.
Yeah, that's very good.
So I wanted to answer the question about pepper and charcoal. Okay. So we are using 8 different sensors, MQ sensors, which are prone to detecting different volatile organic compounds found in people's breath. And we are looking at the range at which these someone's breath can easily lead to such a disease. So it won't necessarily affect that range because we are just looking at the organs and the rate. Someone might have more of it or lesser of it, and that's how we are making that different computation, because each sensor is actually doing like a reloop 8 times, and we advise you to do it like once or twice for validation. And you know the process doesn't even end there. It's just like the beginning of the test. We go to the rack system to validate, and then we give you a doctor. So we are actually taking care of the patient, making sure that we know that this is health and it's really critical to them, making sure that they are getting all the necessary attention they are not even getting, so they come out with the best results. Yeah.
Just to clarify, did you say you get a doctor to verify the results before the patient comes in, or once the AI gives the results, you have the patient, you refer the patient to a doctor? Which one is it?
Yeah, so once the AI gives the results, it's being validated with the RAP system, we give an option to go ahead to meet a doctor, and that's how it continues.
Okay. I was hoping that when the AI gives the results, you get it validated by a doctor before you involve the patient. Because what if the AI is wrong, even though, yes, rack system, whatever, what if the result is wrong? A market woman who has to fend has to stop what she's doing to go and see a doctor. And maybe they might have to pay money for consultation, right? So you need to factor the human element as well, right?
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Afia Lab. Oh no, I'm only taking 3 questions. I beg your, sorry. I'll let you have your turn with the next spray. You feed on the next spray. Humbly. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for Afia Lab. Afia Lab. Oh, it's Swahili. That is Afia AI trick. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are going on to the next competitors. And ladies and gentlemen, if I can have you put your hands together, help me welcome Sentai AI, led by Dorcas. Please put your hands together as they make their way here. So ladies, that's your microphone. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Hello. I read somewhere that farmers feed the world, but in Africa, most of them can't even feed their wallets. Can you imagine? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Seshi Afimalto, representing Synthi AI, which is a company that empowers artificial intelligence in the various agricultural sector. So, agriculture is seen as the backbone of many nations. So agriculture is the backbone of many African economies. And taking a country like Cameroon, in Cameroon, there are about 60% of their population are farmers, while 90% of these farmers live in rural areas. And we also see that in Cameroon, agriculture contributes to 20% of their GDP, with so much impact in such a country. Yet we see that agriculture is reducing in such a country. It remains under-digitized. At the same time, macro trends are driving opportunity in African countries. We see that mobile adoption is booming, fintech has become more trusted, and AI adoption is accelerating. So this is creating a perfect window for AI-powered solutions. Moving on, let's talk about the problem. So we can see that smallholder farmers lack credit access, second being up to 40% yield losses due to inefficiencies and risk. The other being as a result of climate change, the aridity, the heat, and then the extreme weather conditions. So now the question then is, how do we finance and protect these smallholder farmers? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Farms to Market. So in this one, Farms to Market bridges the gap between farms and markets by using AI-driven tools to empower farms with finance, skills, and resilience. So basically, it relies on 3 processes. First being data collection and profiling, second being AI-driven credit scoring, third being funding and support delivery. So, I know you might ask me, what AI models are we using in Farms to Market? First being chatbots in local African languages, just to ensure that there's accessibility and inclusivity. Next being the agricultural yield prediction model, which helps farmers plan smarter and make more informed farming decisions. The other being real-time market insights, which connects the farmers directly to the buyers, data collection and cleaning, and the dynamic credit scoring. So our business model, okay, let's talk about the market size and opportunity. So we see that 80% of these small-scale farmers, they are small-scale businesses. So this represents a significant opportunity for our targeted solution. Talking about the traction pilot phase, we've seen promising results in the sense that 15 farmers have been successfully onboarded. We've seen 20% crop yield increase in their farming activities, received 9K initial revenue in US dollars, and 5 partnerships, including banks and cooperatives. I'll go to market strategy. So basically, our business model is business to consumer model. So here we combine subscription access, commissions on inputs, and partnerships with financial institutions. Financial projections, 500 users by 2026. Moving on. So of course, yes, every solution has its risk. So we saw that there are going to be 3 potential risks. One has to do with the infrastructure, next being the default rate in rural agricultural context, the other being the banking regulations. So we came up with these mitigation strategies to help solve them in our model.
How many more do you have to go? Because your time is up.
So, ladies and gentlemen, at Simply AI, we believe that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. By giving farmers access to finance and trade, we are not just growing crops, we are growing economies, and we are growing Africa together. So join us in making this a reality. Thank you.
You're not growing only crops, we're growing Africa together. A round of applause for Cindy. Thank you, thank you. Now, come to the middle, take a seat comfortably, and I will ask my able judges to now ask any question they will have for you.
Anything to do to grow our crops and ensure food security in Africa is a very laudable idea. What I want to know is, because I'm more of a technical person, so from your AI model, what kind of data are you collating? What kind of data, in terms of, does it have sensitive information? How are you protecting it in terms of privacy, right? How are you training your model? And how are you evaluating your model?
All right. So, let me start with how are we collecting the data, or what are we collecting? So, first of all, we get to take their biometric data, we get to take their names, the name of their farms, the type of crops they grow, and things like that. And so I mentioned earlier that we are using the various AI tools, as I mentioned, to help in keeping this system together. So I'm not much of the technical person, but yes, I'd just like to say that with all the stuff I said earlier on, working hand in hand, it has proven with our traction reports to yield good results. So,
Okay, Eugene here. So one of the things that I look out for when developing anything AI solution is you probably have to look at the fundamental ethics when it comes to AI. You are dealing with farmers here, and one of the ethics is that we have to be fair, right? It means that you're assuming that most farmers would have smartphones to be able to access the solution. What happens to things like USSD that you can still integrate AI to feed information? So you have to be fair. How are you handling the farmers when it comes to these things? And also, I didn't see whether anything has to do with weather reports. If you are working with farmers, you have to include some of these things that helps them. So how are you inculcating all the various tenets in terms of ethics when it comes to AI?
all right. So when I was presenting earlier, I stated that we use the AI to help these farmers to make more informed decisions. So because I was in a hurry, I didn't mention the fact that we also have these real-time data insights and then these weather monitoring systems, which could help them provide data so they know what to do this day and then, and what to prepare for, when to plant, and the others. Please, can I get the next question? All right. Okay, so for that, I forgot to mention too that we have the offline access option. So even if they are in rural areas, it shouldn't be a problem since we'll be working with the rural cooperatives in the community. So we speak to them and then they help in registering them with our tools.
Yeah, but offline means that there is still some sort of a system because these farmers don't have the smartphones.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to find out how are you going to include them when it comes to devices that they probably don't have, because these are farmers they are working with.
Okay, so in this model, we work with people, business and partnerships. So they have, in rural areas, we have key people or key factors. So these key people are going to help select like reps, whom we can even give the devices to so they keep track, and then if anything, they inform us about it. Yes.
All right, so FCNA, this is just a follow-up to Eugene's question. So given that 85% of smallhold farmers are in the country, correct? He's talking about technology, but there's also the issue of digital literacy that needs to be addressed. Now, dealing with AI, it's not too complicated, but you need some form of digital expertise to even understand what the solution is, correct? And even the trust in the models that you are running, from what data sets you are collecting to how deployment is done and all that. How are you addressing that?
So how we are going to handle that is the fact that we know that technology, first of all, is growing, right? So mobile adoption and all that. So if we are going to handle that, we are going to use all the AI models I talked about earlier in incorporating that, and then ensure that there are various checks in the sense that if you are working with banks, these banks will also verify the amounts and all that. So we have third parties checking, we are checking, everyone is checking, they are doing their part to produce the solution. Yeah.
All right. One more. One quick one. Hi, Dorcas.
Hi.
Great presentation. And I think the passion around the table shows how much we want this to succeed, right? I'm also working on a financial inclusion project with the United Nations Development Programme, and one of the things that we know is always going to be a challenge is getting the right amount of quality data to be able to make those kind of inferences around things like credit scoring or access to financial services or repayments. The projection is by 2026 is to have 500 users. Yeah. Is that enough data to be able to make those kind of inferences about people's credit scores? And one additional, how do you explain to farmers when they don't get the kind of loans that they're looking for? What kind of information do they get back so they can understand and appeal against that kind of decision?
Okay, so the decision or the kind of appeal to get these farmers to use our product is that the fact that we are in a digitized world now, and most of them want their produce to reach a bigger market. So basically, we are the stepping stone for them, where we are ready to give them loans and help them fund the funding they need in order to yield their crops and then be visible outside, basically. So the data is coming from what we take from them when we ask them to fill. Yes, they're real-time data.
A round of applause for Dorcas. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming to do us this honors by presenting.
The first Pan-African AI Summit there ongoing. Now you're still watching the polls. When we return, we'll tell you about illegal mining and the recent push for government to declare a state of emergency. Please stay with us.